Hello, dear listeners. This is Editor Matt coming to you from the future, relative to this episode at least. The episode you're about to listen to, that being episode 12, was recorded on Monday, December 14th. The day I'm recording this is, of course, the 25th. The 14th was the day right before both Kendra and I started finals, and right after finals was all the preparations for moving back for Christmas break. So this sadly sort of fell to the wayside, and I would like to just formally apologize for that. But I hope you have a happy holidays, whatever it is you celebrate, and I hope you enjoy this lost episode. Take it away, me. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Comic Book Club, our little winter finale thingy. I'm your host, Matt Lasik.
I'm your co-host, Kendra Forte.
And we're going to jump right into this, folks, because we've got a lot to talk about. Today we're going to be finishing up our discussion on All-Star Superman. And then we've got a lot of news, because in the past week, Disney decided to just open the floodgates and announce everything they're doing in the next 5 years, which includes a whole bunch of Marvel stuff. So we're going to jump right into it.
I can't wait until Disney buys DC.
I really hope that doesn't happen, because then Disney would have, at that point, Disney would have acquired pretty much every other media company.
Literally everything is owned by Disney.
And then we'd be in a hellish nightmare of capitalism and monopolies.
We already are.
Yeah, but it'd be worse. Disney would be able to just do whatever they want, and no one could say otherwise. Anyways, issue 8 of All-Star Superman. If you remember, dear listeners, if you listened to last week's episode and or read the comic, Superman is stuck on a bizarro Earth as it is tunneling into the Underverse. If you don't know what any of those words mean, listen to last week's episode. He has partnered with a bizarro of the bizarros named Zibaro. Again, if you don't know what those words mean, listen to last week's episode.
Yeah, immediately click away from this episode.
Go to our feed, pull up last week's episode, listen to that, then come back and listen to this one. Unless you're listening live. Anyways, Superman and Zibaro talk. They wax philosophical, and Zibaro complains that because he is a bizarro of the bizarros, there is no one like him because he is cool and smart and poetic, and woe is him. And just perfectly timed to accentuate his point, some bizarros come over and start making fun of him as he's like, I suck and no one likes me, and then bizarros come over and like, yeah, you suck and no one likes you.
I didn't realize his outfit was a completely inverted copy of Superman's.
Yeah. Again, he's a bizarro of the bizarros. So then a bizarro version of Superman's Kryptonian father shows up, and he's like, hey, what if I built you a rocket to shoot you off of Bizarro Earth? And Superman's like, that would work, and Zibaro's like, I'm depressed, that wouldn't work. So Superman's like, well, I have to try. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Lois Lane and Quintum, whatever his name is, are Quintum. Lois Lane and Quintum are observing the path of Bizarro Earth as it tunnels back into the Underverse, and in their discussion, Quintum reveals to Lois Lane that Superman is in fact dying, which Lois did not know at that point. He also reveals that the sun is infected in some way. There's something going on with the sun, so they need Superman back. Meanwhile, Superman is trying to convince the Bizarros to help him build the rocket, but they're not listening to him. So then he has the genius idea of, instead of talking to them in normal speak, talking to them in backward speak, which, should have been his first step.
Yeah, obviously.
This Superman is clearly experienced in dealing with Bizarros. So he should, step one in trying to communicate should have just been going to backward speed, but whatever. So then, this is very hard to read, by the way, because you have to,
It's just so difficult. I think I didn't realize that they were talking backwards for a little while. So I was like, what is happening? And then by, page... What page is this?
I don't know, this isn't a page number.
Yep. Well, forget that statement.
So instead of saying, instead of Superman saying to the Bizarros, I have a chance for you to do good, look over here, he says, me am offer Bizarros chance to be lazy, good for nothing slobs, look over there. So of course he grabs their attention. Anyways, this continues. He manages to convince them to help him build his rocket. Over time, Superman's powers are fading because of gravity and whatever. This was explained in last week's episode. I'm going to keep plugging it. And the gravity is also starting to show effects on Superman. It's at this point that we are introduced to my favorite part of this issue, that being the Unjustice League. So there's Bizarro Green Lantern, who has the power to make to bring like normal Green Lantern. He has the power to bring his imagination to life, except that Bizarro Green Lantern has no imagination.
He's got a nose ring, which is pretty sick.
Yeah, instead of a finger ring. Bizarro Flash, whose power is super slowness. Bizarro Batman, who doesn't appear because he was shot by his parents.
Hold on!
Did you miss that in your first read?
I did miss that. That's absolutely hilarious.
It's very funny.
I shouldn't have skimmed this issue so much because I was confused about the wording.
Yeah, and then Bizarro Wonder Woman, who was a beautiful baby turned into an ugly clay statue. That, of course, being the mirror of one of Wonder Woman's many origins, because Wonder Woman's origins is one of the most inconsistent things in comic books. One of her origins is that she was her mother, Hippolyta, wanted a baby, so she made a clay baby, and then it turned to life. Anyways, they reveal that they have a headquarters that is a satellite that instead of orbiting Bizarro Earth, instead is underground and orbits Bizarro's core. Just very fun. So then Zabaro's like, hey, buddy, your rocket ship only has room for one. And Superman's like,
whoa.
Tough luck. Now, but Superman's like, well, you know, we're under limited time because I'm literally dying, so we only have the time and resources to build run. But I promise you that when I escape, I will find a way to contact you and meet again. Very sweet.
Superman is going through it at this point. Superman is on the ground.
They're basically at the very last seconds before the Bizarro Earth finishes tunneling through to the Underverse. So this is like the last moment. They're getting ready to launch the rocket, but Superman is like literally dying. Like he's bleeding from his eyes and nose. They're singing a weird backwards version of the Star Spangled Banner. The residents of Bizarro World all start chanting for Zibaro to be launched instead of Superman because they all hate him so much. But Zibaro instead has a change of heart, realizes that Superman's being launched because he has a place to go back to. Zibaro's being launched because they don't want him in that place, basically. So Zibaro's like, it's more right that you go. So change of heart in him, very nice. Of course, because dramatic tension, the match that they were going to use to light the rocket goes out. So instead, Superman makes fun of Bizarro Prime to a point where they launch him. And it's left at a bit of a cliffhanger, but there's like 4 more issues. So Superman makes it out. The last page of this comic is full art of Zibaro waving wistfully up at the sky as the remnants of Bizarro Earth crumble around him. And it's, in my opinion, very nice. I like this issue.
It's sweet.
Moving on, issue 9. What is issue 9?
Gotta scroll all the way back up.
Let me remind myself what issue 9 is. Right. Meanwhile, because gravity distorts time, if you remember from last episode, I talk about how Grant Morrison, one of those authors that like to read one thing about real life science and then just write crazy stuff about it. Just go wild about it. So Superman makes it back to Earth, only for it to be revealed that 2 months have passed while he has been on Bizarro Earth. Sorry, I'm trying to put my thoughts together because this is sort of a little disjointed. In the meantime, Metropolis has been sort of, I don't want to say taken over, but Superman's been replaced.
And it only took 2 months.
It only took 2 months.
For more Kryptonians to be like,
Yes.
all right, my turn.
A married Kryptonian couple that are Krypton's sort of first astronauts. Their names are Bar-El and Lilo. They, through one way or another, they managed to not be on Krypton when it exploded, so they survived. And they have found their way on Earth, and they're doing the hero thing. But it's very obvious through their discussions amongst themselves that they're major jerks and they're only doing the hero thing so that they can eventually turn Earth into new Krypton.
I would like to point out that Lois, once again, being as stupid as she is, Superman was gone for 2 months, Clark Kent was gone for 2 months, put nothing together.
Yeah. Again, listen to last week's episode. We go more in depth about how Grant Morrison can't write Lois Lane.
They took over this fortress.
Yes, I'm getting to that. I want to. They reveal that if you noticed, Bar-El, last name El, from the House of El, Superman's Kryptonian name is Kal-El, so they're related. They're like his cousins or something. But they basically view him as a baby child because he, again, was raised on Earth, so he has like the mind and he has the mindset of Earth culture instead of Kryptonian culture. So they're like, ape man. I think they repeatedly refer to humans as like ape men. It's very derogatory.
They literally don't care about humans at all. They just want a new Kryptonian.
Yeah. In the meantime, they have moved into the Fortress of Solitude and just basically disrespected the place. They replaced Superman's statues of his parents with statues of themselves, which is just nuts. They talk about the Phantom Zone here. The Phantom Zone, I don't know if I think we talked about this last week, but the Phantom Zone is basically like a pocket dimension where time doesn't pass. It was discovered on Krypton, and the Kryptonians sort of use it as a prison, so it's full to the brim of Kryptonian prisoners, murderers, and such. Bar-El and Lilo are basically like, listen, every one of these superpowered mass murderers in the Phantom Zone is better than all of the human apes put together, which, like, first off, that's a bit of a stretch. But they're like, it would be better off for this planet if we, released all of these prisoners onto Earth to replace the humans. And then Superman's like, hey, maybe don't do that.
Maybe not.
So then they fight, and they easily beat up Superman because it's two Kryptonians on one.
It's literally not even a fight.
No contest.
Superman just gets his butt kicked.
Yeah. In the process, they crack
the moon.
They crack the moon in half, and they publicly declare that Earth is now known as New Krypton. They then rip up a bunch of bridges from various cities and use it to like put the moon back together.
They just made steel band-aids for the moon.
It's weird and bad. Superman is then trying to get back into his work life as Clark Kent, since he's been missing for 2 months. But the Bar-El and Lilo show up at the Daily Planet and he's like, hey, that's Superman. And it's very weird. It's then revealed, but before they can like fully reveal that Clark Kent and Superman, they both fall to the ground, and it turns out that they have kryptonite poisoning. It's like science babbled away, but basically they're dying from the inside out, and they go blind, and it's really creepy. Listen, usually I love this art, but like there's a moment where they're both like bug-eyed because of the kryptonite poisoning, and it's very, very gross. Really gross. Superman helps them, of course, because he's a nice person, unlike these two. And they have one last conversation, and Bar-El sort of has an epiphany that like, oh, maybe being kind isn't a weakness. Superman then sends them both to the Phantom Zone, where again time doesn't pass.
So they're no longer being actively poisoned.
Yeah. The implication is that they're going to spend eternity beating the crap out of all of the villains in the Phantom Zone. Even earlier in this issue, they were like, each one of these villains is better than Earth humans. I don't know. Again,
and now's your chance to prove it.
Every one of like these issues ends with a really good like full page image, and this one is of the two of them like standing over a terrified horde of criminals, and it's very funny. That's issue 9. We're moving quickly now. Issue 10. This is sort of this. We're moving into the end game here. Issue 10. This is sort of like Superman is now actively showing signs that he is dying. So this is sort of his. This issue is a combination of his bucket list and him writing his last will and testament. So he's going around doing all the things that I think really exemplifies Superman. So he visits children in hospitals. He gets Quintus. He works together with Quintus and the inhabitants of the bottle city of Kandor to start looking for a solution. If I didn't mention this in previous episodes, this might have been mentioned in issue 10 when I was just talking about like general Superman knowledge. Kandor is one of the last remnants of Krypton. An alien named Brainiac shrunk the city down and put it in a bottle, because that's what he does. He just goes from planet to planet and shrinks cities and puts them in bottles for like his little library thingy. So Kandor is basically like the last remaining Kryptonians, but they're stuck
in a small bottle.
He makes his own universe in the Fortress of Solitude called Universe Q. There's not even like that's it. He just makes a small
no reason.
Earth. This is possibly up there with like the in terms of my favorite sequences in this series. This is up there with like the bit in the jail. Through a series of seemingly unconnected scenes, he basically like prevents someone from committing suicide by like having a genuine discussion with them and like making a connection. And like I have seen this one page been reposted on like comic fan accounts so many times, but is just again like the perfect representation of Superman. We might get into this later, but like Grant Morrison just fully gets who Superman is in a way that, frankly, Zach Snyder doesn't.
But he doesn't get Lois Lane.
That's true, but he does get Superman. If we have time, I'll complain about Zach Snyder and his movies because they suck.
We're moving through this quickly.
We're
good.
Superman visits Lex Luthor in prison because Lex is about to be executed, and he's like, "Hey, I challenge you to do good," and Lex literally spits in his face.
It's like, nah.
I'd rather be evil and die. Superman and Quintus move the bottle city of Kandor to Mars and take them out of the bottle. It's sort of like a controlled environment, so while they can't really unshrink them, they at least have given them a place to expand. He also gives Quintus his own fully sequenced DNA. And then it's revealed that Earth Q is our Earth? What? So through this whole issue, it's intercut with sequences from Earth Q. Time is moving much quicker in Earth Q than it is on like All-Star Superman Earth. So the image is of someone on Earth Q drawing an image of like golden age Superman. So it's like what? We're Earth Q.
It's fine.
It's fine. Clark Kent then submits his own obituary to the Daily Planet, and that's the end of this issue.
He's like, all right, get everything done.
It's like it's Superman's gift to Clark Kent that Clark will break the
biggest
story.
News of the century.
Yeah, and that's issue 10. I really like that issue. I really think that again this whole series just points to what Superman, like the core of Superman's character, that I think has been missing in recent representations of Superman in non-comic media. Issue 11. Luther's in the electric chair.
Luther's about to fry.
But it turns out he somehow got his hands on the super juice serum from issue 3 and drank it before the electrocution. So he now has Superman's powers and begins his escape from jail. Meanwhile, Superman's doing house cleaning at the fortress. He's sort of setting it up that it will remain. He's instructing his Superman robots to continue maintaining it as a museum after he passes. What next? Luther's secret ally at this point, who is a sentient sun, a sentient red sun named Polaris. He shows up. Part of the Superman mythos that I've mentioned on earlier episodes is that red sunlight takes away his powers.
Mm-hmm.
So he puts on a lead suit to keep the red sun rays out, and he and his robots all go off to fight the sun, or a sun, I should say.
Some kind of sun.
Yeah, it's like it's like a robot sun or something. Anyways, while they're fighting, there's two revelations that are important. One of the robots reveals that Luthor had hacked into him, and that's how Luthor got his hands on the super serum. And Solaris reveals that he has poisoned the sun, which is sort of, I think the implication is supposed to be that that's why Superman's powers went all wonky and why he's dying is because of the poisoning. I think it's a two-part so Luthor was both. I think Luthor's plan was he got Polaris to poison the sun so that Superman would die.
And then sent Superman to the sun.
Yes.
So that he would get the poison
he would
from
get the
the
poisoning
sun.
from the sun and die, and then would fail at fighting Polaris, and then since Luthor got his hands on the super juice, Luthor could then beat Polaris and be the hero. At this point, the Sun Eater, the baby Sun Eater that Superman had been taking care of throughout the series, shows up to try and eat Polaris, but fails, and it's very sad. Or at least I think it's sad.
It's very upsetting.
Yeah.
The baby Sun Eater dies.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Luthor and his niece from an earlier issue, they invade Metropolis, and Luthor's like, I'm the king, baby. Clark manages to kill Polaris.
It falls to the earth and is no bigger than a building.
Yeah, because it's like a robot sun or something. I don't know. Or no, he doesn't kill Polaris, because he reveals, in the future, you will be a good guy, so I will let you live. And then he changes into Clark Kent, delivers the Superman dead headline, and then as Clark Kent collapses to the ground unconscious. And then Super Lex, with really weird chunky pants, breaks through the wall of the Daily Planet, and he's like, hey, you wrote a bad story about me and sent me to jail, so I'm going to kill you all. And that's issue 11. Final issue starts off with the dream sequence. Superman dreams that he is back on Krypton as an adult, and he's talking to his ghost dad, and they talk about death and such. That's just what my notes say. They talk about death and such. Meanwhile, Luthor's like, you people sent me to the electric chair, but now I have God powers, so I'm going to kill you.
Classic revenge.
Classic revenge. Superman then wakes up from his dream, pulls out a gravity gun, and shoots Lex with it. He changes into Superman clothes, and they fight, but since Superman's basically powerless at this point, Luthor wins. However, Luthor then has an epiphany. He at this point, he gets access to Superman's full range of microscopic vision and whatever, and he has this epiphany about the interconnectedness of everything. And Superman reveals that that was his plan with the gravity gun. Since gravity,
it just sped up Lex Luthor's.
Since gravity warps time, Lex getting shot meant that his super serum was used up much faster than planned. So that an unpowered Superman punches out an unpowered Lex Luthor in a very satisfying image. At this point, Superman's skin is literally cracking at the seams, and light is leaking through his skin. He says his final heartfelt goodbye to Lois, and flies off to fix the sun. A year later, Superman still has yet to be seen, but Lois has faith that he has survived and will return after he's done fixing the sun. And meanwhile, Project and Quintus are using the info given to them by Superman in issue 10 to make a new Superman, just in case. And that's All-Star Superman. The last image we have is of, the second to last image is of Superman, like, working inside of the sun. And then the last image is of Project 2, of, like, the big cliffhanger.
But, like, it looks like the Superman S.
Yeah, the 2 is, like, styled like the Superman S. A quick thing that I learned over the past week that isn't super clear in the comic. Do you remember in the flashback issue, in issue 6, that one of the Superman squad that shows up at the end is like a all-golden Superman?
Oh, no.
Like the very, very end, there's like a portal that opens up and there's like an all-gold Superman, and there's like a younger male Superman and a female super person.
Yeah.
Apparently, the all-golden Superman is Superman after he's done fixing the sun.
At the sun. Okay, cool.
So, like, his time in the sun turned him all gold or something. So that's Superman.
So that's nice.
So that's like Superman in the year 1 million or something. Okay. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Lois Lane sucks!
Yeah. Is that why you have such a problem with this series?
As a woman, I really expected more from Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Also, all the villains suck.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Luthor. Luthor's always a decent villain.
Luthor sucks.
Okay.
Everyone in this comic sucks except for Superman.
Yeah. What really brings me back, what keeps me coming back to this series time and again is Grant Morrison's depiction of Superman. His depiction of every other character is bad, and I recognize that now that this is the first time that I've, like, critically read this, but he really does just nail Superman on the head. Yes,
and that's great, but he did everyone else so dirty.
Yeah. You ready to move to headlines?
Let's move to headlines.
Okay, first off, this is from Deadline.com. Petition to axe Amber Heard from Aquaman 2 receives upwards of 1.5 million signatures. This is, of course, in reaction to Johnny Depp alleging that he has been a victim of abuse via Amber Heard for years.
Which one was Amber Heard? In
Mira, Aquaman's girlfriend.
Okay.
So, like, one of the main characters.
I assume she had to be a main character.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Aquaman, if that's not super obvious.
It's okay. It's shot really well. And the acting is decent at times, but the writing is a little shoddy. They can't decide if they want Aquaman to be, like, this, like, whip-smart, wisecracking hero of legend, or be, like, a surfer dude bro. So they flip-flop.
They were just like, we're gonna do both.
Yeah, so at one point he was like, Atlantis, what's that? But then in a later scene, they're, like, trying to solve riddles, like, oh, obviously because of this thing in Atlantean history, we have to do this thing. It's like, so I don't know. This is tricky. I think it is something to be discussed because obviously these are major allegations being brought against Amber Heard, but the fact is that they're allegations. And of course, because of culture in America, whenever the story is that it is a man being the victim of abuse at the hands of a woman, people don't really tend to believe it. I mean, people don't tend to believe a lot of abuse allegations.
People don't believe it generally, but definitely not when it's a man.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be, oh, what are you not telling me? Anyways, I don't know whether this is the, like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this about, like, whether Amber Heard should be?
I think until we get to, like, the truth of the matter, it's best if she sit this one out. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't look like the fans are happy about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that headline. Let's talk about the mess that is the Spider-Man 3 castings.
Yes.
Because there have been so freaking many rumors and confirmations and deconfirmations and reconfirmations about the casting for Spider-Man 3. So what we do know for sure is that Tom Holland will be back as Spider-Man. Zendaya will be back as MJ. Benedict Cumberbatch will be back as
Doctor Strange.
And I think what has been fully confirmed is that
What's his face is back.
Alfred Molina will be coming back as Doc Ock from his portrayal in Spider-Man 2 from the Sam Raimi / Tobey Maguire films, and Jamie Foxx will be coming back as Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, that being the Andrew Garfield series. And the rumor is that both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield will be coming back as well. This is such a frickin' mess.
What's his face is coming as Daredevil.
I think that's also a rumor. I don't know if that's been confirmed. If you can find that it's been confirmed, then it's been confirmed. But I think that's also a rumor. So I have issues with this, because the one thing, the one of the best things that the MCU had going for it was that it was both interconnected and unconnected from everything that was not the MCU.
Now we're gonna smash it all together.
We could concretely say that as long as you start with Iron Man and watch the movies, you will get the full breadth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But now
you have to watch Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3.
Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. and MCU Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. And Doctor Strange. And the Daredevil TV show.
And the Daredevil oh my gosh.
I don't think this is a good move. Listen, I could be proven wrong. I always will reserve full judgments until after the product has been released. But I do not think this is a good move.
So many nerds will get a hard on from this, though.
Of course. People are going crazy about it. Let me see if I can pull
At this point, if you haven't seen all of the other Spider-Mans and every Marvel thing that's come out, it's on you.
I think that the Sam Raimi ones, and I should be clear because people sometimes don't know what I'm talking about, the Tobey Maguire ones, I think they're still fun to go back and watch because they're just they're super campy and super ridiculous, and I get a lot of fun out of watching that. But it's not for everyone. There's no reason to watch Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Those are just bad.
They're just bad.
What it comes to, I've said this a lot, but in my opinion, what it comes down to is that Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker, but a bad Spider-Man because he wasn't charismatic enough. And Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man because he was charismatic, but he was too charismatic to be a Peter Parker. Peter Parker does not skate around and
He was way too cool.
He was too cool. That's the problem. Peter Parker was too cool. But I think the MCU has done a good job of having like a nerdy loser Peter Parker and like a witty, wisecracking, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Since we're talking about Marvel, I'm trying to... Okay. Last week, Disney had like their stock meeting or whatever, and they did a full buttload of announcements and trailers and stuff. Half of it was Star Wars, half of it was Marvel. I'm not going to talk about the Star Wars stuff because I don't really care about Star Wars. And that's
interesting.
It's just not like... Listen, I only have a limited brain capacity, and I've already dedicated a certain amount of it to knowing everything that there is to know about comic books. I don't think I can handle getting into Star Wars. I just can't do it.
I just assumed you were into Star Wars because you have that type of personality.
You'd think, but it just does, like it. I've seen the original trilogy, and I think that those are really good movies, but that's where it stopped for me. I'm probably gonna watch The Mandalorian just because I really like that like sort of man rolls into town, man messes up town, man rolls out of town. But I don't care about anything else. So let's start with new information we have about already confirmed projects. So we have official confirmation. We already had unofficial confirmation because set photos came out, but we have official confirmation that Jeremy Renner will be returning in Hawkeye, and he'll be teaming up with Kate Bishop, who's being played by Haley Steinfeld.
I love Haley Steinfeld.
I am so excited for this series. Because this seems like it's going to be based off of the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run, which is like one of, if not my favorite ever comic book run. And we will talk about it on the show at some point.
Okay, I'm excited for that.
What other new information is there? So we already knew that Christian Bale was going to be in Thor: Love and Thunder, but we now have confirmation that his character will be the villain Gore the God Butcher. And Gore is from a Thor storyline that was like it was the start of like a full revamp of the Thor line, and it directly led into Jane Foster taking over as the female Thor, and we already know that Jane Foster will be returning in Love and Thunder. So my guess is that they're going to be sort of mixing the two stories into one. Because Gore's whole shtick is that his race was the victim of like a war between two gods. Mm-hmm. So he believes that gods aren't needed, so he goes on this whole god-killing spree, and it eventually ends with him fighting Thor. And then in the aftermath of that, Thor starts to believe in Gore's philosophy that gods are more harmful than helpful, which leads to him becoming unworthy, which leads to Jane Foster becoming Thor. So it seems like they're going with that. I'm excited for that because
it's a large leap to believe that Jane Foster is that worthy.
It's not that well. In the MCU, it is. In the comics, she's like a doctor and like does doctor things.
Good for her.
But in the MCU, yeah.
In the MCU, she's just kind of there.
Yeah,
she's just Thor's girlfriend.
Especially with Thor: Dark World, that really like worsened her character. What else? We got new trailers for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We got a new trailer for WandaVision. We got a new trailer for Loki, and we got a new trailer for What If.
Did we get a new trailer for What If?
Yes.
I know we got a new trailer for Ms. Marvel.
That was more, I don't really know if I count that as a trailer because that was just like a series of interview clips. Let's talk about this sequentially. WandaVision we already talked about earlier.
I'm excited for that.
Yes.
I am very excited for WandaVision.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be following the adventures of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Loki will be spinning off of the events of Endgame. The first 15 seconds of the trailer is just footage from Endgame. What If will be an animated series covering possible alternate timelines. The ones that are confirmed in the trailer is a timeline wherein Sharon Carter becomes Captain America, a timeline wherein a young T'Challa is kidnapped into space and becomes Star-Lord, a zombie timeline, and something involving Doctor Strange. And that's all we've gotten for now. Filming has wrapped on Shang-Chi. I'm very excited for that because I love Kung Fu movies. We got some sort of video about Ms. Marvel, who will be a sort of spin-off from Captain Marvel. All this information is coming from Marvel's Twitter, so if you want to read more into it for yourself, there's that. We got confirmation. Now there's two. Okay, no. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep this all in categories, so I'm trying to still do stuff that we already knew about that we're getting more information on before I get into new stuff.
All right, that's fair.
We're getting official confirmation that they're making a Moon Knight series, and official confirmation that they're making a She-Hulk series. And in the She-Hulk series, Tim Roth will be returning as his role as Abomination. The first and last time he was seen in that role was The Incredible Hulk, which was one of the first MCU movies, but no one talks about it because Mark Ruffalo replaced that actor for Hulk. We got more information for Ant-Man 3. It is being subtitled Quantumania. And the villain for that will be Kang the Conqueror, who is one of the earliest Avengers villain. I believe he first appeared in Avengers issue 10. And his whole shtick is that he travels through time conquering things. So that'll be fun.
Things that they said that I didn't know about. Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2,
yeah, so
Blade.
Let's move. Okay, so Blade was not actually part of this press release, but Blade was confirmed a while ago. So we didn't get any new information on Blade. The only thing that they confirmed for Black Panther 2,
Black Marvel 2.
We'll get to that. There's a reason I messed that up. The one thing that they confirmed for Black Panther 2 is that they will not be digitally recreating Chadwick Boseman. So
Rest in peace.
Nice. Rest in peace. Moving into new things that we did not know about, Captain Marvel 2 has been confirmed. We're getting a Disney Plus series titled Secret Invasion, which will focus on Nick Fury and the Skrulls.
Which looks very interesting.
Yeah, all we have is a logo, but I actually, completely unrelated, I recently reread Secret Invasion, and it's about a religious sect of the Skrull race that believe it is their destiny to turn Earth into the new basis for the Skrull Empire. So over the course of many years, they have replaced certain heroes and villains and civilians with Skrulls, and Secret Invasion is that coming to light and them fighting and stuff. So that should be fun.
Did we know about Ironheart?
We did not. So we have 2 new Iron Man related series. We have Dominique Thorne portraying Ironheart in the series Ironheart. Ironheart is a recent character. Tony Stark was dead for a little bit because that's just what superheroes do. So they had a young black woman from I think Detroit coming in as the new Ironheart instead of Iron Man. But then because comics, Tony Stark came back and became Iron Man, and Ironheart was relegated to being a backup character in Champions. That is a thing that you see a lot with female characters in comics, usually referred to collectively as women in refrigerators, where either male characters have a temporary loss of power but then get their full power back, or female characters are temporarily powered up and then lose their powers permanently, or female characters are just fully killed off or fully depowered for the sake of a male character storyline. Once you know to look for it, you start seeing it a lot in comics, because since comics are such a long form of storytelling, they rely super heavily on status quo. So permanent changes almost never happen, unless of course you're a woman and you're killed.
Then those are pretty permanent.
Yeah, we're also getting Armor Wars, which will feature Don Cheadle returning as War Machine. Armor Wars is the storyline that covers the Iron Man technology sort of becoming public, so a bunch of other tech companies start making Iron Man based armor. So I'll focus on that. We're also getting a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special in 2022, sort of tying into the third movie that's coming eventually. We're getting I think this is going to be a children's series, but we're getting I Am Groot, which is going to focus on Baby Groot.
Those are just shorts.
Yep. And this is super exciting for me. Fantastic Four.
I saw that. I was so hype.
We're actually getting MCU Fantastic Four, and it's going to be directed by John Watts. We don't know anything other than that. There's no other information. Holy crap! That's all of the Marvel news.
With 20 minutes to spare, we got time.
Didn't you have something you wanted to talk about?
I just wanted to hear your thoughts on Air about Titans versus Young Justice.
Okay, so
first, Teen Titans versus Young Justice.
Okay, so first, for those of you who don't know, the Teen Titans are at any point sort of the Junior Justice League, so they're comprised of either sidekicks or young heroes in the DC universe, and they've been around since the 30s. In the 1980s, Marv Wolfman, and I can't believe I'm forgetting the artists' names. I know his last name. Wolfman and Perez had a very, very influential run on Teen Titans that basically changed how they were identified. And that run was adapted in the early 2000s into the cartoon show Teen Titans, which was an action comedy that had a long interconnected story and dark themes and was really, really good. Then in the 90s, there was a series called. So there were two series that ran concurrently. There was Titans, which focused on the original Teen Titans from the 30s and from the revamped version of the 80s, except that they were now adults. So it had Dick Grayson as Nightwing instead of Robin, and Donna Troy had grown up from Wonder Girl, etc., etc. And they were the Titans. Meanwhile, the new Robin, Tim Drake, along with the new Wonder Girl, Cassie Sandsmark, Superboy, and the newest Kid Flash, who was at that point going by Impulse, formed Young Justice. And they were basically the Teen Titans, but they went by the name Young Justice. That series was... that's also one of my favorite comic book runs. That series had more of a focus on comedy, I'd say, but it also had some really heartfelt moments. So in the I think in the early 2010s, I don't entirely remember. At some point when I was a child, that series was adapted into Young Justice. 2010 was when the first season came out. So the Young Justice, the show, sort of mixed and matched elements of Young Justice, the comic, with like earlier Teen Titans stuff. So the first season had Superboy in it, but it also had Dick Grayson as Robin. Mm-hmm. I grew up watching Young Justice. It's one of the things that got me into comic books, and it's like one of my favorite superhero TV shows. Then, in 2015, I want to say, Young Justice is still ongoing, technically. It got like 2 seasons, and then disappeared for a while, and then when DC made their streaming platform, they got a 3rd season, and then like all of it got shunted over to HBO Max, and apparently there's a 4th season in the works, but no one really knows for sure. But if you have HBO Max, watch Young Justice. That's my recommendations. And then in 2013, Cartoon Network started a series called Teen Titans Go, which was a revamp of the early 2000s Teen Titans series.
It's a disgrace. We're not going to talk about that one much.
It took out all of the action and focused purely on comedy, and like simplified their designs, and doesn't have any like mature storylines. It's all just like loud noises and bright colors.
Disgrace.
Like if this was like a standalone show, then it'd be fine because it's at times legitimately funny. But it's because it inevitably draws comparisons to the original that makes it bad. And then finally, in 2018, on DC's streaming platform, they made a new show called Titans, which, as I mentioned earlier, sort of is like a grown-up version of Teen Titans. This one was live action, and it was very dark and serious, and in my opinion, it sucks. I've watched like 3 or 4 episodes, and I can't stand it.
Once again, it's not really for you. It's more of just a teen drama.
Okay.
This is in the way that Riverdale is not for Archie comic fans.
Riverdale's not for anyone except people with no brain.
It's just a teen drama. It's a fun teen drama.
Trashy teen drama. In this series, Dick Grayson is like a 20-something cop in Detroit, and he hasn't been Robin in years, and he uses bad words and beats up people really harshly.
But he's hot, so
okay.
There's that.
I've been trying to get Kendra to watch more Young Justice, and I've been trying to convince her that it's better than Titans, which is hard work, apparently. So those are my thoughts. Teen Titans good, Young Justice really good, Titans Go okay at times, Titans poo-poo garbage.
You're just not the target audience at all. Like, I'm no longer the target audience for Young Justice.
I guess.
I'm very much in my teen drama phase. Well, not so much anymore, but...
How old are you again?
Excuse you. Most of the characters are my age or older.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's a young adult drama.
I guess.
And I'm in that phase of my life.
It just feels really weird because, like, superheroes by design are, like, really campy and silly, and it can be adapted to be, like, serious, but you also have to keep a degree of that silliness in. But, like, when you turn Starfire, who had been previously portrayed as, like, an alien prince, like, yes, her backstory is that she was an alien princess sold into slavery, but, like, her whole shtick is that because, in spite of that, she's still, like, super cheery and bright and everything and, like, cares about her friends. When you turn her into, like, a member of the Russian mafia or something that dresses up in, like, fur boas and, like, kills people for information, I think you're missing the character.
And I totally don't mind at all. There are a lot of people out there who don't mind whatsoever.
Okay. Listen. I'm willing to give it a try, okay? Because like, Superboy is one of my favorite characters, and I know he comes in Season 2 of Titans.
I think you would really like Superboy.
So, I'm willing to bite the bullet and fight through it until Superman appears. Also, I'll mention that, like, in the point where I've watched in the show, they haven't actually, like, formed the team yet. They've just sort of wandered around and killed cultists. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a team dynamic that I'm missing. But at the moment, I don't.
I think you should stick around until Superboy, because Superboy, I think you would really like, because it brings the humor back.
I'll do that. See here. We have a listener question rolling in. Someone who's listening live asks, do you think Doc Ock and the other Spider-Men and Electro could be cameo, sort of as in they appear for a while in a parallel universe but don't actually interact with them? Do you think that would keep it from being too crowded? Yeah, I think the best way to go about it would be in the fan service sense, where like instead of like
they're just there for a second.
Yeah,
like, oh,
'cause we already-
I saw them.
Yeah, we already know that the events of WandaVision are going to tie directly into the events of Doctor Strange, and that Doctor Strange is going to be about the multiverse. So there's going to be, and we know that Spider-Man 2, like they toyed with the idea of alternate timelines, but it was like revealed that he was just lying about it. So we know that like something in the storyline of Spider-Man 3 will involve alternate timelines. I think the best way to go about it would just be in like, because what they could do, and it would be really bad, is like if they make Doc Ock and Electro like the main villains and have them be in there for the majority of the movie. I think that would be bad. If it's just like they're flying through portals and like either
You see them like
you see
flash.
them in the background, or like there's a very brief fight scene where like Spider-Man, that's a new costume, and then they fight for a bit and then they get sucked out, because that does happen in comics. That I think would be good and like the perfect amount of fan service, but having it be like, I have learned from my fights of another Spider-Man, and I've teamed up with this guy who fought another Spider-Man, and we're gonna kill this child Spider-Man. Bad. No goo. No do. No good. So, yeah, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be reading over winter break. Because we're going to be gone for about a month. We'll be back, assuming that we're allowed back on campus and COVID doesn't, explode again. We should be back in late January.
Yep.
And for our first episode back, we will be talking about Alan Moore's Watchmen.
Have you seen the Watchmen series? Of course you haven't.
I have not, because I do not have HBO Max.
I thought about that as soon as I said it.
I have a lot of thoughts on Watchmen. I'll talk. We have about 8 minutes, so I'll talk about it now. I'll say first that Watchmen is considered one of like the best shows in comics in existence. It was a 12-issue limited run that ran over the course of a year. It takes place. It's all in its own separate timeline, so you don't really have to worry about reading anything prior because they're all new characters. It also takes place in like an alternate past, so like there's some. It's that thing that like writers like to do, where it's like, oh, instead of Germany losing World War II, it's something like that. I don't remember what the actual exact changes are, but there are some changes. It's very heavy. It's very text heavy. It's very theme heavy, which is why I chose it for our month-long break, so that our listeners could take time chewing on it. We might even wait until our second episode after we get back, so that we could reserve the first episode to talk more about it and like the background and stuff, because there is a lot of interesting information. If you would like to read it, I'm sure you could find it like any bookstore, any local comic shop in physical form. Of course, you can find it digitally. One thing you cannot do, though, please do not watch the movie and then expect to have a full understanding of the story, because the movie changes a lot of important details and in general kind of stinks. I think it might even be a Zach Snyder work.
Is there a Watchmen movie?
There is a Watchmen movie, and it's not good. Is it Zach Snyder? It isn't. Oh, that explains so much. It's a Zach Snyder piece. That's why it sucks, because Zack Snyder's like symbolism, good writing, undertones. What's that? I just want to see gods beat the crap out of each other. You know what? We got 7 minutes. I'm going to go into my Zack Snyder rant now. There's like 1,000,001 YouTube videos that can word it much better and in much more time, but Zack Snyder does not get how to write superheroes. He made his name big when he made 300, which is technically a comic book adaptation, but like his style works because 300 is about a bunch of sweaty dudes punching each other for an hour and a half, which is why like it got acclaimed, because that's just what the story is. But he tried to make Watchmen and it failed, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Recently, he's been working for the DC EU, that being the DC Extended Universe, and he does not get Superman and he does not get Batman. Because in his mind, Superman and Batman are dudes that punch each other a whole bunch and kill people and dark moodiness, and Superman's like a god that doesn't get humans and like doesn't connect with humans, and Batman just shoots people with guns. No, dude, pick up a comic book that isn't The Dark Knight Returns. Pick up like a good comic book that shows Batman rescuing a cat from a building as he's fighting a villain. That shows Superman taking the time to talk to someone and talking them off the ledge of a building. Read! Don't just like hear from another room someone say, Batman, Superman, and go, yeah, I can make a series of movies. Stop it! Also, what's with Lex Luthor? Why is he... I hate it. Have you seen any of those movies?
Nope. I'm
Good.
so glad I haven't.
Don't. Oh my god. Again, I don't have time to go into further detail, but like he just misses the mark so much. For Superman, the whole point of Superman is that yes, he has the powers of a god, but he crashed on Earth as a baby and therefore was raised with the mindset of a farm boy from Kansas. So he is a good person that does good things, not because he has to, but because he chooses to, because that's how he was raised. The Superman in Zach Snyder films does good things. Frankly, he barely does good things. He does good things out of obligation, or to like assuage some guilt that he feels because he messed up doing a good thing prior. In Man of Steel, he only becomes Superman after Zod shows up. So he doesn't even like become Superman to like start doing good. He becomes Superman because he has to fight Zod. And in doing so, he breaks like 1 billion buildings and kills a bunch of people. And then in Batman v Superman, he only fights because of his guilt. There's a scene where he's at a courthouse and Lex Luthor blows up the courthouse and kills everyone inside of it, and only Superman survives because in Zack Snyder films, Superman's basically a god, so he wasn't even touched. And do you think he shows emotion? Do you think he shows grief? Do you think he tries to track down Lex Luthor in some bout of very human-like rage? No. He stares emotionlessly at the ground and flies into the sky. And then Zack Snyder Batman is just a jerk that kills people for fun. He runs people over, he takes their guns and shoots people with them. Batman does not shoot a gun, dude. And now I'm all worn out. Thanks for listening to the Comic Book Club. I've been Matt Lasik.
I'm Kendra Forte.
If you want to send us questions, suggestions, topics, headlines, whatever, you can tweet us at CBBCPod. That's at CBBCPOD. Our email is cbbcpod@gmail.com. Please,
You sound so defeated.
Please talk to us. So, ask me to talk about good superhero movies. I'll gladly do that. Again, we will not be back until late January. I'll probably, once we have definite dates, I'll probably post about them on our Twitter. Again, that Twitter is at CBBCPOD. We'll be talking about Watchmen, so if you want to know what we're talking about, find it somewhere, read it. Don't watch the movie. Zack Snyder bad. Until we meet again, Excelsior.